Okay, everybody, just to introduce everybody to what's happening here, we've got Brandon, who's going to be helping me manage and moderate. And at the end, I'm planning, assuming we all have friendly fire, that I will be opening up the question period. If I feel safe enough, I will be doing that. So you can count on that at the end. Brandon is yielding questions. If you have any, you can put them through him. He will be giving them to me. I don't want to spend the entire night reading different things. Bonjour tout le monde. Brandon est ici ce soir pour m'aider. Il va prendre soin des questions et il va m'avertir quand il y a une question que j'ai besoin de répondre. Je ne vais pas lire tout le soir, alors c'est son job à lui de lire mes questions. Jen, I will be completely organizing myself. Everything is bilingual. We will be heading into a bilingual meeting. If anybody has any problems understanding, we've got some unilingual. I think we only have Jen that's from out of town that needs complete English. So I will be catering a little bit to that because I believe everybody else is relatively bilingual. All right, I think we're going to get going. I like to start on time, and I'm just giving everybody a little bit of room to come on. And Brandon will let everybody get on as he sees fit. This meeting is recorded. I wanted to make sure you knew that. And it's funny to see you enacting. I'm acting in such a formal way because you're my neighbors. It feels kind of weird for me. I'm not going to lie. All right, so here we are. My presentation to you is such that we have, I'm running for District 4 Council, District 4, Saint Anne de Bellevue, and I'm going to explain to you why I'm running, pourquoi je me présente comme conseillère de la ville, and what I hope to accomplish in the term 4 years that we have upcoming. So next slide, Brandon, please. All right, so let's talk a little bit about me just to catch up those who don't know who I am. I'm Rhonda Massad. I'm a mother of 3 biological children and a blended family with 2 extra kids. So 5 kids. I am a grandmother of 5 kids also. I'm a former retailer. I used to own my own store in the Dollard area. It started out in Saint Laurent, moved to Dollard. I used to sell accessories, and I had a great time doing it. Loved it. Loved the consistency for me, and the common denominator about pretty much everything I do has been interaction with people. I love people. I love interacting with people, and I just like helping. So even in my retail world, it was an attempt to make people feel beautiful. So I think that's where the retail aspect came from. I sold pretty things and made people feel stylish and good about themselves. So I think the common denominator is the need to help and the need to help people feel well. I ran for city councillor, I believe it was 2009, if my memory serves. In Beaconsfield, I did 4 years. I served 4 years, and I loved every second of it. It was contentious. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't an easy mandate in terms of keeping things transparent and keeping things open. I suffered a little bit with that. I'm a very transparent person. Those of you that know me, a filter would have probably been a better gift from God. But anyway, it's out, it's honest, and it's raw. And sometimes that gets into trouble. But I do believe in politics, you need to have transparency because everything comes out anyway. So you're better off to just own it and make the decisions according to what you've got and continue from there. So my world of city council was another way that I could help people as the liaison to the city for the residents. It was a great way to help. Most people, when they approach the city, are not usually coming at it in a very calm way. They're usually nervous, they're upset, they don't understand, they're not getting the response they need. They want help and they want to understand. And that doesn't mean that they necessarily want to get everything that they're asking for. What it means is they need somebody to make them feel safe in a world that they're not used to being in. Most people are busy, their family life, their business life, their work life, that dominates them. And you don't really, unless you have a passion like myself, you're really not interested in the intricacies of a city. So the job of a councillor is such that we have your voice and your interest at heart, and we act on that voice. So it's very important that the city councillor is in touch with his community, his or her community. It's very important that I know what you need. That's the whole point. West Island News, many of you know where I come from on that one. This came out of an election loss. The West Island News was born from, I ran in the next election, didn't win, lost by a couple hundred votes, ended up wanting to channel that community spirit and that community effort into something that was community driven. So I had this amount of time that I had left over, and it grew and grew and grew because I felt people just didn't have access to their resources, how they get help when you find out your child is diagnosed with autism, when you find out your teenager is just not manageable and you don't know as parents what to do about that. You don't know what to do when you have cancer. How do you manage that? What do you do when you're a teen that has cancer? The resources in our community are unbelievably amazing. And knowing them is the biggest challenge we have, because let's face it, when you're in the crisis, it's really not your best time to be doing research to find the answers. I was hoping to provide those answers, and I think people gravitated to it for that reason. So we move on to community activist. I find that's a strange word for me. I don't see it that way. People call me that, but I guess I feel like a lot of the things that I know from being on council and from being with the West Island News, I know a lot of the answers that people have questions to about community life. So I do get a lot of response to that. And because of the West Island News, I find that magical power that the community has joined together with on the West Island News, that we can, if the food banks are out of food, it's a post for me. It's become to the point where I can post and subsequently feed with the help of the volunteers, obviously, but the West Island News can the information travels to a point where we can fill the shelves of a food bank. And that's a community thing. I don't see the West Island News as necessarily belonging to me. I see that as a group effort, and together I get the news from people. I don't always seek out the news. People send me the news and send me their fundraisers and send me things that they need. They need help. They reach out to the West Island News for help. So that, again, with that common denominator of wanting to help. I'll take the next slide, please, Brandon. My mission and my vision. I'm a very boisterous person. I have a lot of things going on in my head at once. I have dreams and aspirations for us as a community, as a city, as an island, as a country, as a world. I see the world in a better way that I think we can do better. And I think we need to prepare for peace. We need to prepare ourselves so that our children have the foreground in which to do better than we are doing. I find we're struggling as a population, obviously, with COVID, with the way politics works. Why is it so contentious? Why can't we just, there's got to be a better way to handle this. And I'd love to change the way that it looks to our youth, so that more people will run for politics and to help in their community. But right now I find it's a rough road. I'm not going to lie. This election period has not been an easy one. It's been a lot of disappointment, on top of the fact that I've met some very beautiful people. So it's a give and take. And I want to see if we can't, as people, do this in a way, get elected in a way that makes it so that we are harmonious. Ma mission est de soutenir d'abord les résidents du district 4, représentant la ville en deuxième. Alors, c'est pas la priorité, c'est pas la ville. La priorité, c'est les personnes du district 4. Jen, it's my priority lies with the residents. I'm not affiliated to either of the mayoral candidates. I want to represent the citizens. I'm not, as a councillor, I don't believe the role is to manage the city. That's the mayor's job. The mayor manages the city. They manage it with the director general. The role of councillor is to liaise the residents and their needs and their desires to the city, and represent you is what I would expect to do. It's not necessarily about what I want. It's about what our district wants. And I'm very honed in on this particular district. Le rôle du conseiller municipal est de représenter la voix du quartier. Alors, c'est ta voix. It's your voice that I'm using. I'll take the next slide, please. I've been going around to door for the last 6 or 8 weeks. I think I started at the end of August, the end of September, and middle of September. And people ask, why are you running? They want the pitch. You're at the door, they want the pitch. So my pitch is always the first thing I always say is it's a passion. I absolutely love the job. I absolutely love working with people, and I absolutely want to take care of, it's a very mothery thing to do. I want to take care of us. I want to nurture us and make sure that the city is running harmoniously. I want to be a part of the solution, the liaison between the residents and the city. I love it. I find it interesting and challenging. I do find the city very interesting, the way that it works, the way that laws are drawn up. The mechanisms that fall into the city are very interesting to me. I want to do my part to make our city the best it can be. You can't do it alone. Like many things, we don't do anything without a team. It doesn't work that way. I think unilateral functioning doesn't work well, especially at the city level. I want to promote a government that puts residents first and advocates for peace. And when I say peace, I'd love to think it would be world peace, but I'd love to set the stage for unity in our community. I think the peace in our community depends on the leaders. The divide in a city it happens because of its leaders. If there's a division or if there's contention, it's the leaders that promote that. It's a leader's job to unite the community and not necessarily be looking to the mandate after the one that you're in. It's risky to function raw and honest in the 4 years in which you're elected, because that doesn't necessarily get you elected the next time, because it's not an easy thing to do. You have to be honest. And sometimes the answer is no. And it's not an easy, I'd love to tell you yes to everything, but there are budgets. You don't want your taxes raised. I don't want my taxes raised. So that means there are things we can't do. So that, I mean, if we win the lottery, let's be honest, everybody gets what everybody wants. I want to see a $5 million splash pad right smack easy for me to get to with my grandchildren. But the reality is likely, I haven't seen the budgets, but that a $5 million splash pad isn't going to happen. So I'm not the person that's going to tell you you're going to get it and then you're not going to get it. I will tell you you're not going to get it. So that's not a popular way to behave as a politician. Next slide, please, Brandon. How can I help? This is the idea. It all starts with respect. Respect for the council, respect for the mayoral seat, respect for the residents, respect for the city. Moving forward with respect is the most important thing that we can do for each other. And I think maybe COVID has stressed us out to the point where we've forgotten how to, on the internet in particular, we've forgotten how to mind our own politely, if you will. Communication is at the heart of good governance. What do I mean by that? I don't mean Facebook. I mean communication. I mean sitting with you. You call me up, we talk on the phone. We have town hall meetings where you get to speak, where you get to express yourself. I don't believe in waiting until a problem is acute. There's a problem on Meloche with the street. We have to figure out how to fix the speed on Meloche like yesterday. I have a commitment from a candidate, Francis Junot, that he will sit with me and we will figure that out. It's been an ongoing problem. It's not a new problem. It's an old problem and it's dangerous. I was literally doing doors. I couldn't finish conversations for the amount of traffic. You would swear you were sitting on Highway 20. So that is critical. So sitting with the residents and finding a solution that we can come up with that will work. Speed bumps might be the answer. I've heard things about flower pots. I've heard things about changing the shape of the road, like in terms of like making it jut out. There are solutions. We're going to find them. We're going to have to think out of the box. And it's a together thing. It's not a me sitting at the office trying out different things. I think it's together. And if I come up with something, we can talk about it and we can get that done. That's got to be addressed. We may not always agree, which is why there are 6 councilmen and not just 1. So a city is run. The voices of the 6 districts are presented during any council meeting and caucus meeting. So the reason there's 6 council people is that it makes it democratic. So if District 4 wants to spend the $5 million on the splash pad, but District 6 doesn't, they get to vote, and then the democracy takes over. And whether or not the splash pad goes in and taxes go up will depend on the entire council. So it's not only my decision to make. When you're communicating at the heart of good governance, you can get behind something if you understand it. And through communication, I believe you can understand it. I want to help us unify. I believe St. Anne's is divided geographically and emotionally. speaking to District 4, I've knocked on about 80% of the doors, and I've got through to about 80% of the people, and they feel left out. They feel left out of the city itself, of the city center. Geographically speaking, that was the heart of the city, and that's where St. Anne de Bellevue was born. But this part of St. Anne de Bellevue feels left out and neglected for services and things like that. So next slide, please. The Northern inclusion. Okay, these are the couple of things that I have found while I'm going to put on the old glasses because let's face it, can't see. Northern inclusion is one of our problems that I discovered at the door. Traffic in many areas. Chemin Sainte-Marie has traffic. Euclid Living has noise. Tremblay feels traffic as well. Meloche has traffic as well. That's our district. For those of you that don't know, it's Meloche through to Euclid Living that includes the vet hospital. La rue Meloche est aux prises avec de graves problèmes d'excès de vitesse qui doivent être réglés le plus tôt possible. That's the commitment I have from Francis Junot, that he will be sitting to see if we can figure that out. Le district 4 ne croit pas avoir de services équitables de la ville. Les parcs de notre district sont négligés et nécessitant des améliorations. Les résidents sont préoccupés par l'impact de REM sur notre région. La circulation du chemin Saint-Marie est préoccupante concernant la vitesse et les véhicules lourds. Les véhicules lourds, c'est un problème sur Meloche aussi. Stationnement chez Terra. Those of you who live in Terra, le stationnement, the parking is an issue. We know it's an issue. We are not really sure how to handle it. I've spoken to the current sitting mayor, and the options are potentially to have an extra lot at the east part of the entrance from Chemin Sainte-Marie. There will be some paid and some not paid parking. And we would have to decide how that's going to roll out. Next slide, please. Encourage District 4 town hall meetings and foster better communication with residents. So basically, I want to have time with you as a community, as a district. If you're interested, some people don't care and they don't want, but I will make myself available. And how will I do that? I have a few ideas. One would be coffee with your counselor, where we would sit, where I'm going to be somewhere and at a coffee shop. And if you feel like having a chit chat, then come on in and I'll be working there. If nobody shows up, that's fine. If people want to talk to me, then it would make me accessible. I would like to have town hall meetings in person, if possible, at City Hall. And again, whether or not it would have to, I think a town hall meeting would have to depend on what we actually need and what we're struggling with. So I'm guessing that like if we were going to cover Meloche, then I guess that would be to that group of people. J'aimerais améliorer la communication avec les résidents grâce à la diffusion en continu sur l'Internet des réunions publiques. Les réunions publiques depuis les dernières 2 ans sont pas publiques, sont pas sur l'Internet. They're closed. The public meetings for the last 18 months or so, I guess during COVID, have been closed doors. We've had access to them only through submission of questions. We have not had a public meeting. I think we've had 1, possibly 2 public meetings, and then they were closed again. They were opened in the summer for 1 or 2 meetings, and then they closed again in the fall. I feel that if we can have a hockey game with a lot of people in it, thousands of people, I think we can get together at City Hall. There have never been, in my experience, more than 20 people at a meeting. I think 20 people is exaggerated, but unless, of course, there's a particular issue on the agenda that causes the room to be full. Normally, you can count the people on your hand. So I don't feel that opening our public meetings is a threat to our safety. I do believe citizens need to see the votes, and they need to be able to understand, and they need to be able to ask questions about why a person is voting which way, one way or the other. C'est la décision du conseil pour fermer les réunions. J'aimerais qu'il soit ouvert. Next slide, please. Okay. These are some of my dreams. These are some of the things that when you call a platform is a dream, you don't have access to the city finances to know whether or not these things are possible. This is a dream. I want to encourage further adapted and inclusive park services to all children so that all children feel welcome. Inclusive playground equipment doesn't necessarily look differently, but we do not have one adapted park in St. Anne de Bellevue. Not one. I won't rest until that's over. Parks should be designed to meet the needs of children with a variety of abilities. Children who use wheelchairs, have autism, or are typically developing. Those are the children that we're aiming to work with. It's important that families don't have to leave St. Anne de Bellevue to go for a park experience. Going to get a swing in NDG because it's the only place where you can get a wheelchair access is not something that works for me. I think we need to do better, and I think we can do better quite easily. The parks in District 4 are considered exhausted, for lack of a better word, exhausted, tired, they need love, and it's time to get them up to snuff. And that to me would include an adaptive park. Next slide, please. I would like another dream. I would like to form a youth council to empower youth to participate in governance of their community. I've seen this done in Bidurfe. Maria Titino, she did a great job with that one. I spoke to her about it quite frequently, and having our youth participate shows them what we're doing, how tax money is spent. Like most children, and including my own have actually told me this week, I wouldn't know about voting if you weren't running. Like, the years that I've ran and won and lost, and that's a lesson in and of itself for kids to watch. And that they don't, if your family's not into the politics, they're not really aware of the fact that there is a budget, there is things that we can do, there are the road work, there the water works, whatever. These things can be exposed to those that are interested. I believe a youth council will empower youth to participate in the governance of their community, and I think it's important that they understand. Now, let me tell you a quick anecdote. J'ai rencontré un petit bonhomme, Philippe, sur l'île de Vigne, qui est très intéressé à avoir un parc dans son région, dans son quartier. Il voulait absolument me parler quand je passais mes pamphlets. Il a dit, Madame Massad, j'ai dit oui. Il dit, j'aimerais vous parler. J'ai dit, OK, alors on va s'asseoir ensemble devant sa maison. On s'assoyait. Puis, il disait, je veux qu'on ait une structure de parc. J'ai dit, c'est quoi une structure de parc? Il dit, j'aimerais ça qu'on ait une glissade et peut-être un balançoire. Est-ce que vous intéresse? Like he's going to vote for me, this little Philip person, he asked me for a park structure, and he wanted to know when we could do the park structure and what would be involved. So now let's take Philip and put him on council, give him a budget of whatever, $10,000, and we show them what you can do. I said, Philip, I said, I'm going to have to choose between a park and a slide. What do you do when you only have $10,000? I can't maybe do the park, the slide, and the something else. I don't know, whatever, monkey bars. So he would have to decide which he would have to take. So it's a lesson learned. It's a beautiful way to introduce kids to the city and how it works and the intricacies. And I think it raises awareness. I think it's important that we know where our money goes and how it works. Next slide, please. If we want a better world, we have to prepare for one. Responsibility, environmentally, I do believe our city does extremely well, environmentally speaking. I would like to continue that, take the baton there if possible. I would definitely encourage receptacles for disposable masks, earplugs, protective eyewear by dropping them off at one of the collection points. I know we're all throwing them out. We can do better. There are services in the United States that take those products and recycle them. Continuer à mettre l'accent sur la forte philosophie environnementale de notre ville. Encourager une forte participation civile de la communauté. I believe civil engagement is critical. I think we need to get off Facebook, and I think we need to get into the streets, and I think we need to get out there and do things and volunteer and be part of something physical and alive and real. Next slide, please, Brandon. Brandon's face is there, always smiling. How am I going to execute the concepts that I have? Améliorer la communication avec les résidents grâce à la diffusion en continu sur l'Internet des réunions publiques. I want to bring our public meetings to the internet. I know I'm contradicting myself with the internet. You can't obliterate the internet, and we are going to use it as a tool, and we should be using it as a tool, but I don't think all of it is benefiting us. I don't think every aspect. I think we need a lot more in-house, in-person stuff. Insister sur la responsabilité dans toute l'organisation. Well, that means the entire organization of the City Hall and its intricacies need to be accountable. Unilateral decisions shouldn't be made. They should be made with the help of council always, because that's how your voice is heard. If things are not presented to council, it's very difficult for your voice to be heard. Having gone door to door, and trust me, we'll be meeting more if I become elected, I will know pretty much what we want to do as a group. And if I'm questioning that, I'd love your emails, because if I do have a question, I would like to be able to communicate with you, sometimes quicker than others. Rechercher des points de vue diversifiés lors de l'élaboration des politiques. So that's more communication, sitting together, talking, coming to coffee with your councillor and telling me what you need or what you feel upset about. Encourager un environnement d'implication, de respect et de connexion de divers talents, idées et origines à travers l'organisation et la communauté. So diversity, it's on everybody's lips these days. Diversity, not to say that we do have a diverse council. Not everybody is this lucky. We do have men and women and different ethnicities. So I think we're doing well there. Utiliser différentes méthodes de collecte de données, la technologie et les méthodes de communication telles que les médias sociaux afin de sensibiliser la communauté aux services disponibles. So this, to me, is something that I did when I was a councillor in Beaconsfield. I would send out quarterly reports to my constituents. I would have your email, and when I have something that I need to discuss with you, or I think that you need to be alerted to, because all the while knowing you're busy in your life, I would email you. It's time to participate. There's something heavy going on. It's time to get involved, or your street will be dug up this week. Beware, get everything inside or whatever. So these are ways I find we need to communicate using the internet for that, email and ways to communicate. So my email would come to you in a bulletin form 4 times a year, unless I feel that you need to be alerted to some other particularly important topic. And let's just check the English. Stress accountability throughout the organization, use different data collection. I think we're good. Okay, Brandon, we can move on. Oh, we're already at time to vote. Geez, that went faster than I thought. I think I feel comfortable enough. I think we're safe to go. I'd love to have questions if you need. Did Brandon, anybody send any questions? Is there anything that anybody wants to particularly ask? And while you're thinking of your questions, I want to tell you a little something. We will be voting at Centre Arpel, which is this weekend, 30 and 31. Not all cities have opened up a second day. I didn't realize that. And it's not everybody has done this. And I think it's fantastic that our city has opened up 2 days because it'll alleviate the lineups if there are any. And that's the 30th and 31st. That's this weekend. On the 7th, from 9:30 to 8 o'clock at night, École du Bout de l'Île. In 1835, the local post office opened. In 1843, the Saint Anne Canal was completed, resulting in a large number of travelers and merchants passing through the village. What's interesting is another impetus to its development came a few years later in 1854, when the Grand Trunk Railway was built through the area, followed by the Canadian Pacific Railway in 1887. That said, in 1845, the place, Saint Anne de Bellevue, was first incorporated as the municipality of Bout de l'Île. Bout de l'Île. This was abolished 2 years later, but in 1855, it was reestablished as the parish municipality of Saint Anne en Ile de Montréal. So it wasn't, Saint Anne de Bellevue wasn't the first name. Municipality of Bout de l'Île is what the actual first name of our city was. I find that very interesting. And that's École Bout de l'Île is where we're going to be voting in District 4 on November 7th at 9:30 in the morning. So that's my presentation, ladies and gentlemen. I have so many ideas. My website is kind of up and with its platform. If anybody has any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them. Oh, look at us. Oh,
all right. Yeah, we're back. All right, I'll
back.
briefly come on camera. Hello, everyone.
That's pretty.
Hi, nice to meet you, everyone. So Rhonda, you can take a look at the chat. I've sent you one, and as you read that, I'm going to read a few comments that have been coming in as well.
I've got this one from Kat and Danielle. Rhonda mentioned that she discussed issues with Mr. Junot and has found agreements with him. What about Mrs. Howa? How has she responded to these issues? Francis, I asked him directly. I was in a position to ask him directly. And I did, and I wanted a commitment to the traffic problems that we have. He, as a member of the traffic committee of the city, I was boisterous, if you will, about the traffic that we've had and the fact that we have no parking. So I mentioned it during the traffic committee, and he called me up and said, what's going on? What's with the traffic over there? I don't understand. I said, well, you got to come down here and see it, because the traffic, the parking, whatever, it's chaos in Tara. So he came down and he spoke to me and committed to trying to fix. It's difficult to say you're going to fix, but we're going to do everything we can to fix the issues that we have with parking here. And the other concern was Meloche. So in answer to your question, I don't have an answer from Mayor Paula. I assume she's done all she can, because she's been in for 12 years and the Meloche Street is a problem. So I'm going to assume we haven't found a solution under her tenure.
I have a question from Jennifer. Jennifer says, love the idea of coffee availability. Will it be offered on the same day / time of the week, or will you post a schedule to tell people ahead of time?
I will have to discuss that. I don't mind doing it either way, both ways. I was thinking maybe like the first Thursday of the month, or maybe do one evening so that the people that are working can go, and then maybe do one in the morning so that other people can go. So that would give me, and I'll just set myself up with my laptop work. And if people come, then great. If they don't come, that's great too. And I would guess we would need different hours. So we could make an appointment. I would be happy to do appointment or do it on a regular schedule. And I would post it maybe to my own site. I do have an idea of having a Facebook group for the community for District 4, except that I have been living in group chat, not group chats, but groups on Facebook. And I just don't find people are getting everything that they need out of there. I find some of the things go well, and then it just escalates. And I find possibly Facebook groups are dividing our community. I just don't know if they're the best thing for us. I really don't. So my original thought was to post it all to Facebook groups, but I'm not sure of that wisdom any longer.
Another comment from Catherine and Daniel. They say that they would also like to have more information regarding the bike path. Also for the REM, for the traffic on Chemin Sainte-Marie and the parking. I guess they're looking for more information in regards to that when you receive it, or if you have information.
The information I have, well, first of all, bike paths will be the intention of first of all, jurisdiction for a bike path is Montreal. It's not a Saint-Anne-de-Bellevue issue, though the input is there, but it is a Montreal controlled, and it's a Montreal expense, if you will. So the bike path will, from my understanding, will continue right through to La Trattoria. You know, that amazing little Italian thing we have going on down at the end. Well, at the end of Chemin Sainte-Marie westbound, that's where the bike path will join to there during the REM construction. That will be joining up. I am concerned about the traffic from the REM, and we all had a little bit of a taste of that when we were living the closure of the Illatort Bridge. So Frederick back, I think we're going to need signage. I think I've been going through ideas in my head, obviously without the city view. I'm not in the city to see, but in my mind, no left turn, no right turn, something that would block an outflow of traffic, like get people to the highway as opposed to getting them on Chemin Sainte-Marie, which is a country road essentially. So I find we definitely, a concern of mine would be the impact of the REM and how that's going to impact us as a community in Tara, as a community, as a District 4, and as a city. With the $300 million project coming in near the Vets Hospital, the traffic is going to be something that needs to be very, very much considered. It's going to be a lot of extra people. And I'm sure the people that live in that area are going, that's not our district. Like the St. Anne's Hospital is our district, but that whole ancien combattant is going to be quite crowded. So that's going to have to be very, very much addressed. And the police and fire and emergency, the response teams are involved in those decisions. So we're going to have to work hard and drill down and figure out how to make this work.
Great. So we'll move on to a question from Heather. Heather says, love your ideas. Thank you, Rhonda. She also says, what do you feel would be the ideal parking solution for Tara?
Well, the ideal parking solution for Tara would be to go back in time and get a time machine somebody was not thinking. The ideal solution, I would have loved to have seen the potential, the city lot that's western from us. I know it's in talks, and I know there's potential negotiations going on. I don't know where they are or what the status is of any of that, but I would love to have used that to solve our problems. I don't know if it's possible, again, to take possibly a portion. It's not my dream to do it, but imagine if we had 6 spaces on either end of the green space that we have. I mean, I wish we could leave it green, but we're going to be suffering. So I don't know if that's legal, because given the amount of green space that's required to be donated when you do a development. So I don't know if we can grab 6 spaces there. And I like at the end near the nines, we should maybe carve out, where there's a spot where they're dumping their gravel. Maybe we take that spot and put a lineup of potential spots to park, for the extras. So it wasn't well thought out, and it's going to be an adjustment to get it done. And it's not going to be what everybody wanted if we put it somewhere, because it wasn't what the plan was. So none of us are necessarily going to be happy with the solutions, but we are going to have to come up with some.
I have 3 more questions that are currently in the lineup. Hopefully there are more that come in. So a question from Jennifer. Do you think maintenance could be improved in the dog parks?
Specifically, what dog parks are we talking about? The one near the hydro? Jen, which dog parks are we referring to? And yes, if there's a problem with the maintenance, yes. But I haven't roamed through a dog park. The only one I know is in the middle of the hydro lands in our district.
Well,
but either way, I would trigger. I find there's a few things that need to be addressed in terms of maintenance when I'm doing my rounds, when I'm walking, and I find that that's not really a tough thing to do. That's usually our city staff is great. They have a lot of mileage to cover, but if we propose it and if we mention it, from my experience and from what I've heard, our city staff is top, and they come when they can. They come, so they probably don't realize.
We'll move on to a question from Jennifer again. They say, when searching for solutions to our community issues, will you look to other success stories from other communities?
Yeah, I do. Is that a question or I am very, very connected to the intricacies of other cities. My stolen idea for the masks and the gear and the health gear that I want to present as a recyclable item is stolen from Point Claire. Point Claire has a top-notch system of communication, I find. They have a place where all their news is let out. They have all the news is right there, right for you. And one of these things is on their page, and it's about recycling that equipment. Another dream that I have that they're doing a pilot project with is a refrigerated ice rink. It's an artificial ice rink. So an artificial ice rink obviously would have to go into the capital budget. That's not part of our regular budget. I don't know what the price is anymore. It was in, it's significant, but imagine in the northern section, if we had an artificial ice rink, that would balance out perhaps the services that are from the south to the north, that would give us something in our district that would work. So definitely I look to other cities. Absolutely. I am part of I'm just trying to think of the acronym because you guys don't know this acronym, but the FCM, Fédération Communauté Municipale, that community, I'm part of their bulletin, and they highlight cities that have done terrific things, and watching other communities is absolutely key to learning. Learning from others is key. Am I out of questions?
No, you got one more question. So this is a question from Catherine and Daniel again. Is there a plan to have a shuttle or more services to help us go to the REM? So I'm assuming that they're asking if there's a plan to get more accessibility to the REM for members of the community.
J'ai pas entendu une navette pour le REM jusqu'à date, mais si on a besoin, c'est peut-être quelque chose parce qu'on a une section de transport, un service transport entre différentes régions de la ville. Je ne suis pas certaine comment ça marche, mais des résidents m'ont dit que c'est vraiment possible d'avoir un navet, mais I haven't been in city, so I'm not really sure, but it would make sense that we have an intercity navette shuttle. Why not? I think we already do, from what I'm understanding from residents, but it would be absolutely, why not put it in? It would save us all the driving and whatever, but I don't know how fast that would be to get you to your time. But when you get there, the REM is coming every 10 minutes. So I guess it would be insignificant. It would be great.
Great. Not a question, but a comment from Lucy. They go, wow, District 4 will be very lucky to have you as a councillor. Every other elected official should take note on how to communicate to the constituents like you are doing now. Good luck.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you so much.
And, comment from Jennifer. They go, steal with pride from other communities. Great examples.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's really important to learn from others. I really do. And I think one of the things that I experienced on council was oftentimes the 6 councilmen would sit, talk, iron out a problem. And we do iron things out in caucus. That's where it's ironed out. So you're not sitting in front of wasting everybody's time. But caucus is where you iron things out. I've gone to council with a firm answer to what I'm going to be doing. A resident who's a senior, in this particular case was a senior, he came to the microphone and he said, did you think of it this way? My face fell. I remember this one particular incident, and it's not really, it's frowned upon when you change your mind from when you're in caucus to out in the public. That's kind of like, you're not really doing your team a favor. But this gentleman was beyond educated, and we're living in a community that has a lot of information and a lot of expertise. People aren't living on the West Island without, you know, information and something to offer. We're in a beautiful community with very smart people. And if you come to the microphone and your presentation outruns what I've learned on council, I will be the girl that, sorry, I got to go back to the drawing board. So I am that girl. I will go back to the drawing board and we'll start over, because you brought up some points that we didn't think of. And it doesn't make me a popular person on council, but it does, in my mind, make the decision a better one. So I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight and taking the time to spend with me. If you want me to meet you at your door, I can. If I've missed any of you, no problem. I'll be there anytime. And most importantly, go out and vote. We've disappointingly show up, only 30% of our population shows up municipal elections across the island of Montreal. And democracy is in play. We do need to respect the fact that our ancestors fought hard to have a vote, and vote for somebody. Spoil your vote, but show up to vote so that we maintain our democracy for the next generation, because we need to do better in that department. I think so. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Enjoy your Halloween. Have a safe and healthy one. Oh, we've got it's claps. Those are not hands, those are clapping. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time, and enjoy Halloween. I'll be with the kiddies. And that's it. Have a great night. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.